Welcome to the Money Watch Show. It's Tuesday, October 22nd, and we are here trying to help you make better, less bad, more considered financial decisions. If you've got a question, just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and let us know if you would like to come on the air live by checking the box. Mark does everything else. Also, while you're on the website, don't forget you can sign up for all sorts of cool things like the free weekly newsletter. You can subscribe to Jill on Money Live, $35, access to quarterly live webinars, bonus video content, the back catalog of all this stuff. It's great. And our next webinar is coming up. It is on Thursday, November 14th. CFP and CPA Michael Goodman will be joining us to help hold our hands as we come to the end of the year. We're going to talk about tax loss harvesting. We're going to talk about what should you do if you actually have lots of gains. What ideas does he have? He's so smart, and I love him. So check that out. You can only do that if you are part of Jill on Money Live. And you know who manages Jill on Money Live? My co-host here today, Mark Talercio. How are you, Mark?
Hello, Jill. Happy last full week of October, believe it or not.
Crazy. That is crazy. So I want to talk today about this ongoing issue we have about the series that I've been doing on CBS News that seems to conjure up so much hate among viewers. I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there's a lot of viewers who like what I do on the evening news, but these are standalone segments about individuals and their hurdles with retirement. And, you know, we hear from a lot of these people directly. I know that many of you think that we only have wealthy people who come on our air, but that is not the case. In fact, we have many normal people, and normal people often have struggles because things happen. And so, Mark, when you saw the segment that aired last week, it sort of popped up at the last minute that we aired it, that it was about this couple in Massachusetts. What did you think about that? How did you think it was portrayed?
I mean, I thought it was portrayed fine, but I do think as I watched it, and this is actually what I thought as I watched it, I think I'm probably a little bit out of touch because I'm so used to our audience. And I know you say, yes, we do talk to normal people with normal situations, but our audience, that they're money people. Like these are people checking their accounts all the time. So they know what's going on. So they tend to be in pretty good shape, most of the people, not everybody, but most. So I think that kind of has rubbed off on me a little bit, and maybe I'm a little bit out of touch with all the people out there that are struggling. And, you know, it's real. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Well, you know, let's do this. Let's air the segment. Let's play the segment. And then you and I will come and talk about that segment on the other side of this. And I'm going to tell you my 2 cents about it. So this segment aired last week on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell. It's the second of 4. So, you know, you can keep hating me for another 2 segments on this. And we're going to also talk about some of the numbers that are embedded in this. So here's a segment that ran last week. Dinner time at the Gomez residence in suburban Boston means feeding 3 generations.
Here you go.
It's crazy. We're raising my niece and nephew. My mother lives with us, and my sister lives with us.
So how many people total in this house?
7.
Alicia, 56, works for a nonprofit, and her husband, Chu, 58, works in logistics. They're part of the sandwich generation, workers supporting young relatives and aging parents.
I equate it to a turkey club sandwich because the club sandwich has a lot of layers, and we have a lot of layers.
Intergenerational arrangements like this account for roughly 5 million U.S. households. They can easily wreak havoc on retirement plans. How do you think about the future?
We were thinking 62, and you know, we can retire at 62 and still be young. And the other day she says, "You're going to work to 70, right?" I'm like, "I guess so."
50s is a good time to save.
People in their 50s, says labor economist Teresa Ghilarducci, need to put away as much of their earnings as possible.
In your 50s, you may be pressured to help your adult children. You may be pressured to even help your older parents, but don't sacrifice your own retirement savings.
The Gomez's are saving, but they are more than $500,000 in debt, including house, car, and college loans for their 2 daughters. How long before those are paid off?
He's going to be 71 when they're done.
Yeah, we'll have those for a long time.
The Gomez's do have a nest egg, but not a big one. If you're in your 50s like them, here's what to consider. Have honest conversations about how long any assistance for relatives, like any older children, will last. Temporarily reduce retirement contributions to pay down any high-interest debt, like credit cards. Then importantly, don't forget to boost your savings.
Is the money coming in covering the bills that you have?
We have enough, but it's not where we should be. God forbid if one of us gets sick or we are laid off, what will that do to us financially?
Well, people in their 50s have a really high chance of losing their career job. So watch your back. Keep your job.
Both Alicia and Chu were in fact laid off in their 50s. Alicia picked up consulting work, then was rehired. But it took Chu 6 months during the pandemic to find a new job.
When you get laid off, you can't do the 401k, so that was 6 months of 401k that was not being put in there.
Chu missed $13,000 in 401k contributions, which would have been worth roughly $40,000 by the time he retires, and could have helped cover some retirement costs, like health insurance. On average, a retired 65-year-old should expect to spend about $165,000 on health care throughout retirement.
Do you think about that?
It's funny, until you bring it up with somebody, oh yeah, that other thing, that's always there.
Take your time.
The retirement pressure never lets up.
We didn't know we were going to have to care for so many family members. So the unexpected was a wake-up call, I think, for us.
For the sandwich generation, saving for the unexpected is the best answer to that call. So, Mark, what was really so incredible to me in this conversation was not so much that these people were in, a terrible financial condition. They aren't, mostly because they were able to buy a house at the right time by accident. They didn't time it that way. But how the world that you live in, that you think of in your 30s and your 40s, can shift dramatically. It can shift because of family members who need your help. It can shift because you have aging parents. It can shift for all sorts of reasons. And I know that it's very difficult for people to live their lives thinking about the worst case scenario. But when you are thinking about your future and your retirement, maybe it would be great to also consider not so much the best case scenario, but what could potentially go wrong. That is why we have started to ask more and more of how you are expecting to manage aging parents, because I think this is a massive issue. I really do. And I think that there are people out there who are asked to help out. They want to help out, but I think there's a struggle and a balance that people are trying to strike between how do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my kids? How do I take care of my aging parents? And in this segment, I think that was really what we uncovered, that there is a struggle that is embedded in many families. I think that's the hard part because, Mark, I know, you're a young parent, but if you had to think about, your parents are okay, but if you had to take care of somebody and how you factor that in and who gets the weight and when, that's the part that I think is very difficult emotionally for people, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can confidently say that that's with my parents. That's not something I will ever have to worry about because my parents, for everyone listening, I'm in New York City. My parents are way upstate New York, like 4 hours away. They are terrified of New York City. So even in the worst case scenario, they would never come here. So that's on my sister. So have at it. But
she's happy to do it. Because she moved up towards them.
They
moved to her.
They moved to her.
Right. To her. So there you go.
But it's a possibility with my wife's parents. That for sure could be a possibility down the road. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And I think that how you manage that, I guess, is the question that people really want to know. Like, how can I balance these competing needs? And I'm not so sure that I have an answer to that. I don't. I don't think that you can be 100%, equal among everything. I think sometimes you need to help one kid. Sometimes you need to help your parents, and you have to be able to shift your priorities. But, I keep thinking about this medical model to some extent of triage, that a family is about triage. And I guess that one thing that I would be very cognizant of is to maybe give yourselves some grace, give yourselves some leeway, because I do think what is hard is that if you really say, I must actually treat everyone equally, that's when I think you run into a problem. So it might be, for example, with your kids, one kid needs help. You can keep track of what's going on in your life. You can say, I'm helping this kid today, and maybe I will change my mind later about what else I do. And you can also say to yourselves, as you know, a family, we need to actually do this for this person today. And it's not all equal. It is interesting, Mark. I mean, so you only have one kid, right? But what happens when you have three kids? One needs help and the others don't. Do you treat them unequally?
I mean, it's kind of like parents with their inheritance, and they have, a couple kids, 2 or 3 kids, and some are in better shape than the others. Do you leave more to one kid versus the other two? Yeah, it's a tough one to juggle.
It really is.
There's no right answer.
No, and I feel very strongly that if you give yourselves a little bit more leeway, you'll be better off. That's really how I feel about it. That there is a part of me that is, at the very least, trying to give people grace as they make these big decisions. That's what I think is important, that you are nicer to yourselves about this, because otherwise I do think that you're just kind of piling on, and it doesn't get better for you. All right. It doesn't get better if you are mean to yourselves, but also to just say okay, this is the priority today. That, I think, would be a healthier way to approach this. Again, I'm not a parent, but I do have a mother. I'll give you an example of this, Mark, that sometimes it can't be equal. My mother, I love her to death. She has a few minor health issues. She's in her 80s. And, I have a crazy job. I work full time. I would like it if I could be more equal with my sister in who deals with my mother, but my sister's taking on a bigger load. She just is. She has more flexibility. She has the time. And so I feel guilty when she's like, oh, I guess I'll take mommy again for this thing.
Little subtle jab.
Yeah. But I know what she means. And she knows that if it were serious, of course, I'd blow up my whole schedule and all that. But it is also true that you have to just sort of give each other some grace. And I thank her, and I'm grateful. And I know that you're very happy that your sister's taking care of your parents, when they'll need something, that she's there. And it can't always just be 100%, divided. You're doing 50%, I'm doing 50%. There's 100% to be divided. Who's got the capacity to take more on? And I think that is kind of your retirement / paying for college / taking care of your parents. I will say this, Mark, I do think that there are still so many families where they are making this decision about college that comes and haunts them for years to come. And I really want that to kind of be in our rearview mirror. It is so important for people to understand that, yes, of course, while many kids do need a 4-year degree to get into this economy, you don't have to go into debt. They don't have to go into debt to get you there. So I am much more concerned with people allowing themselves the capability of making different decisions at different times. That's the art and not the science of this. We don't have to all be divvying up perfectly, making every task this way, making sure that all the money is equal, that people need different things at different times. And maybe in your family, you can afford to say, yeah, wherever you want to go to college is fine. I don't think it is a kid's God-given right to go wherever he or she wants to go. It just isn't. And you have bigger fish to fry. And it may not be fair. And your family may have been able to do more for you than you can do for your kids. But this is where you are. There's no reason fighting it. The question is, can you avoid making a mistake? And I do think, Mark, that so many of the people who are running into these big problems through no fault of their own, really, except they really wanted to do the right thing, they're making some decisions that are not in the best interest of the whole household. Maybe great for the kid, but I don't even think it's great for the kid.
Those college decisions can be absolutely crippling.
Absolutely crippling. You're right. All right. Well, that's it. So listen, if you want to talk about retirement struggles or obstacles or hurdles that you face, why don't you give us a holler? Go to JillOnMoney.com. click the Contact Us button, fill out that form, and let us know what we can do for you. And if you want to, while you're on the website, don't forget, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. And don't forget that we actually have a subscription service called Jill on Money Live. The links are all there, but all of our content lives at jillonmoney.com. So check it out. Mark Talercio, he is the co-host and executive producer. He is also the king of all things web. We are distributed by Paramount Global. We drop our episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. If you would not mind, could you please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen? And also, do something nice for someone else today. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
Paramount Podcasts.